This is actually a dress. I went to the Met Gala in 2018, and I was going to wear this dress or another one. I was going to modify it and make it even more. That's not a word, but it is now. And I couldn't decide between the two, and I ultimately chose this red one. And this one I had always wanted, and it was worn by another incredible actress, Can, a few years ago. But I loved it, so I was like, oh, okay, beautiful piece is beautiful. Should be worn many times. She wore it so.
This dress is actually something I had my eyes on for a long time. Back in 2018, I was heading to the Met Gala and had two options in mind. I considered modifying this dress to make it even more dramatic. Though that's not technically a word, I'm claiming it now. Ultimately, I went with the red one, which I had always admired. Another amazing actress had worn this dress a few years prior, but I loved it so much that I didn't mind. It's a piece that deserves to be worn beautifully more than once. Yesterday, we went over a new lawsuit filed in California against Brian Friedman and Melissa Nathan, with claims coming from Alexa Nicholas. The allegations revolve around a so-called smear website supposedly created by Brian, but the lawsuit doesn't provide concrete proof connecting Melissa Nathan to it. Stephanie Jones also claims Melissa made a website about her, which she did not. Looking deeper, this case quickly loses credibility. There are rumors circulating, and while unconfirmed, they suggest that certain people in the industry have been encouraged to file lawsuits, many targeting Brian Friedman. Blake Lively clearly dislikes Brian Friedman and views his public statements as defamatory, yet she hasn't sued him personally. Instead, she has moved to strike anything he files in the court record, especially concerning his affidavit about Taylor Swift and alleged threats. She's actively pursuing sanctions against him, challenging attorneys like Kevin Fritz, and even trying to remove him from cases entirely, effectively limiting his influence during the trial. Brian is now relying on other attorneys to handle the heavy work, while new lawsuits seem connected to the same network of individuals who have grievances with him. This raises questions. If someone is trying this hard to remove a lawyer, what are they trying to hide? Why focus so intensely on his business? Stephanie Jones and her husband Jason Hodas have ties to WME, where Jason works. WME also represents Blake and Ryan Reynolds. This suggests the possibility that WME could be involved behind the scenes, trying to neutralize a lawyer who isn't afraid to challenge them. WME has its own legal drama, including investor disputes, class action suits, and management changes, which makes this environment even messier. Looking closer at Alexa Nicholas, there's no clear connection between her or her ex-husband and Melissa Nathan. Brian Friedman did provide some strategic legal guidance to Michael Malash in 2022, but he wasn't involved in Alexa's lawsuit. Melissa Nathan, meanwhile, was working elsewhere and had no involvement. Stephanie Jones appears to have muddied the waters, tying unrelated individuals and websites to the lawsuit, many of whom were never clients of Brian or Melissa. Alexa's divorce settlement also complicates matters. The stipulated judgment she signed clearly waived rights to future claims, spousal support beyond August 2019, and any. On the docket, she has gone as far as having anything he files struck from the record. For example, when he posted about his affidavit regarding Taylor Swift and a supposed extortion or threat, Blake had it struck, calling it scandalous. She currently has a sanctions motion against him, and she, through her attorney Mel Gaversky, had Kevin Fritz reprimanded for being unruly during depositions. There was also a case where a former client spouse sued Brian because he represented Justin Baldoni, while their spouse sued Justin. Another spouse has now sued him, too. Blake has tried to have him removed completely from the New York case, stripping him of his ability to litigate effectively. Because of this, he now relies on other attorneys like Alexandra Shapiro, Jonathan Bach, and Ellen Graff to handle the heavy lifting. Meanwhile, there are two new lawsuits against him that feel like Blake and Stephanie Jones have a vendetta. This raises questions. If they are trying so hard to remove him, what are they afraid he knows? Why are they focused on attacking his business? Stephanie Jones's husband Jason Hodas is an agent at WME, and she has ties there as well. WME represents Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds through agents like Warren Zavala. So, one possibility is that WME might be coordinating behind the scenes to neutralize Brian Friedman, especially since he isn't afraid to challenge them publicly. WME itself is in the middle of legal and financial drama, including lawsuits from investors after going private, class action suits, and a split with IMG. Ari Emanuel recently moved from CEO of WME to IMG, which is connected to MMA, and there are scandals involving WWE and Vince McMahon, so the environment is messy. When examining Alexa Nicholas's lawsuit, there's no clear connection between her or her ex-husband and Melissa Nathan. Brian Friedman provided strategic legal guidance to Michael Malash in 2022, but he wasn't involved in Alexa's case. Melissa Nathan was still working at Hillock Strategies at the time and had no involvement. Stephanie Jones appears to have confused the record by tying unrelated individuals and websites to the lawsuit, many of whom were never clients of Brian or Melissa. Alexa's divorce settlement also complicates the matter. The stipulated judgment she signed waived rights to a full evidentiary hearing, future claims to spousal support after August 1, 2019, and any property or income rights against her ex-husband. The judgment states both parties entered the agreement knowingly, free from fraud, coercion, or undue influence, and intended to fully settle all present and future personal and property rights. She agreed to hold him harmless for all liabilities, including taxes and debts, while he walked away with his own assets. She received limited spousal support for about a year and 2 months, and after that date waived all rights to support permanently. Both parties mutually released any claims to each other's income or property. Yet, despite this clear legal settlement, Alexa filed a lawsuit in 2021 against Michael Malash and others. She tries to tie herself to other parties in the current case, but the relationships are unclear. The alleged smear website that sparked this isn't really about Alexa. It focuses on Joe Dunn, a former California State Bar official, and claims he and his associates manipulated legal processes and exploited women, allegedly guiding them to file false claims for financial gain. Alexa appears framed as a victim rather than a perpetrator. Some individuals named may have legitimate grievances, but many of the allegations fall outside the statute of limitations. Stephanie Jones and Blake Lively seem to be attempting to orchestrate lawsuits and media attention to damage Brian Friedman. It could be a coordinated effort to protect reputations, suppress threats, and generate press while creating pressure on the legal system. Some reports suggest Blake and Ryan may even be funding Stephanie Jones's legal team. The result is a frenzy of media stories portraying Brian as part of a smear campaign, while the substance of the claims is weak. The credibility of the lawsuits is questionable, and many are likely to fail. This pattern also risks diluting public trust in the Me Too movement, as repeated cases appear to be financially motivated or misdirected. Overall, this seems like a coordinated campaign to neutralize Brian Friedman through lawsuits, media pressure, and strategic legal maneuvers, even though the underlying claims lack substance. The final question is whether this effort to recruit additional claimants and generate publicity will continue, and what the true motive behind these actions is. The lawsuits appear timed to maximize media attention, but the factual basis remains weak, leaving the public unsure about the truth behind Blake Lively's claims, while all this orchestrated chaos unfolds.